Hello and a very big warm welcome to the Soul Sync podcast. I'm Jason Paul. If you're brand new to the show, then welcome. It's good to have you with us. And if you're returning again, welcome back to the Soul Sync family. Now, in this episode, get ready for a captivating journey into the world of mediumship with a truly exceptional guest on this week's episode of the Soul Sync. Today, we have the privilege of hosting Adam Berry, a modern-day spiritualist medium whose journey is as inspiring as his dedication to the profound mysteries of the soul. When I spoke to Adam, I was blown away by his candidness, his honesty, his story. It was just an absolutely incredible conversation. Now, Adam comes from Bury in Lancashire and he stands at the forefront of spiritualism, and his accolades really do speak volumes. He was awarded the prestigious Gordon Higginson Memorial Scholarship by the Spiritualist National Union in 2016. Since then, he's gone on to obtain his certificate in speaking, demonstrating and teaching, and his commitment to excellence has even led him to become a trainee tutor at the renowned Arthur Findlay College. Adam's journey into the realms of spirit began in his early years, fueled by a desire to understand and seek proof of the survival of the soul beyond physical death. This passion propelled him to study at the Arthur Findlay College, a world-renowned institution for the advancement of spiritualism and psychic sciences. His mind and spiritual development were further opened through these experiences. A pivotal mentor in Adam's journey has been none other than the late Mavis Pittilla, whose guidance and nurturing helped shape him into the highly respected medium that he is today. Adam's belief in mediumship as a healing and celebratory connection between two worlds is evident in his talks, workshops, and mesmerising demonstrations. But Adam is not just a seeker of proof of life after life. He is a promoter of life within life. He believes that our souls have a purpose here and now, and the knowledge that our soul lives after physical death provides comfort and solace. Beyond his personal demonstrations, Adam extends his reach through online sessions, including a weekly Sitting in the Power Hour on his Facebook page. Recently achieving his DSNU in demonstrating mediumship and becoming a newly approved tutor at the Arthur Findlay College, Adam's accomplishments are as vast as his commitment to serving the spirit world. Adam is also on the National Executive Committee as a director. This is not just an episode of the Soul Sync, it's an opportunity to delve into the wisdom, experiences and teaching of a truly remarkable medium. So join us as we sync our souls with the extraordinary Adam Berry. You're going to love this conversation. Enjoy. So Adam, thank you for joining me on the Soul Sync podcast.
Thank you for inviting me, Jason.
Now, your story is really interesting. We were just having a really nice chat before we started recording. And I think what we'd like to do at the start, Adam, is just hear a bit about your story and how this has all kind of come about. Because one thing that jumped straight out to me was that you work in construction. And that wasn't even necessarily something I knew about your background even before we started this. So tell us a bit about your journey and maybe some poignant points that jump out to you.
Okay, so my journey is quite a complicated one. As it is, nothing's ever straightforward in life, I've come to realise. But some of the most adverse things that we have within our life can be the biggest blessings within our life as well. And my sort of journey, spiritual journey, I suppose, started as a young child in the way of not seeing the spirit world and not, seeing nans and granddads and things like that as some other, or spirit children and things like that as some other mediums have experienced. But I just had this inward knowing and this sensitivity. I was very shy, very awkward as a child, I suppose, because I didn't like any birthday parties, whether they were my own or a friend's. I'd be sick, physically sick. I didn't like the attention. I didn't like anything on me being centre of attention. So, like at birthday parties and things like that, where they have that interaction and participation. Yeah. Well, I hated ever being picked out, so I think that's probably why I was sick. But you know, it was just this sensitivity that I used to just... Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I can edit this, can you?
Yes, I can edit this. Don't worry.
Yes. I've just had a little note sent through from the other half. Your website is okay. PayPal working, postage working, sell, so right. We've had this big thing with the shop's gone off my website, and I'm like, there's nowhere anyone can buy it. You can buy it on Amazon, but that's another thing at the moment. But anyway, I forgot where I'm on to now.
You were saying, when we just stopped. Okay, I'm just making sure because I thought I could hear my voice back for a second, but I can't, so that's fine. You were saying that, just to reverse back, you'd got this sensitivity as a child and you don't know where it necessarily came from.
Yeah, and this sensitivity, it was always a case of, like with the adults, I always used to think, why are they doing that when they know that this will happen? And it was sort of like an inner wisdom in some ways. And I always used to think as a child, if, you know, those things will never happen to me, because I sort of understood from an observing point of view. I observed everything. And, you know, I wasn't someone that would step out of my comfort zones. I just took everything in like a sponge, and that was the reality of me. So it made me very quiet, very inward, and not somebody that would put themselves forward for anything. Actually not feeling good enough, or, you know, I always felt like I wasn't bright enough as a child because I wasn't in the top sets at school. I found school difficult because I later found out and investigated dyslexia. So that was a thing, because it was about I just couldn't read and take things in. I was very... I struggled with school because I felt intimidated by it. And so, yeah, there was a lot of things within my life as well that were quite emotional. I was brought up by my grandparents, which were the beautiful people. And my real parents, they split up when I was early, and there was mental health, and there was all sorts of things within my life that I had to deal with as a child. And it wasn't until I was about 17, my real dad passed away. Tragically, he drowned trying to cross a river, and he had schizophrenia, and it was something that I'd had to learn about as a child, this illness, and I tried to understand it as much as I could. But when he passed away, it was like this train crash in my life, and I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know, and by this time I was already kind of like a drinker. You know, I loved drinking at the weekends. I was a greedy drinker. Always had been, from drinking on the park with friends and at the weekends, and I'd always want that full bottle, not sharing a bottle with the friends. You know, that's.
Well, I can relate to that, Adam. I've been there myself. Hello, it's me, Jason Paul. I'm sorry to interrupt your episode for just a moment to ask a brief favour. If you like listening to The Soul Sync, please do leave me a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Your feedback really does mean the world to me, and it also ensures that I can continue to bring world-class speakers onto The Soul Sync. Thanks for all your support. I hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast.
But yeah, that was the thing, and that was like the norm. You know, it was a norm. But when my real dad passed away, I ended up drinking excessively and into oblivion, and so much so, I'd already sort of crossed the point of a problem drinker earlier on, and it got so bad that I had to be detoxed in a psychiatric ward. And, you know, it was, I was 18 when I was detoxed. So the time I should have been legally able to drink, I was being detoxed in in hospital. And, it was there where I went to an AA meeting, and that AA meeting, I suppose, it really, I mean, I was the youngest one there, that everyone was really old, and I was this feeling sorry for myself that I should still be able to drink and all this, and I'm not like them, but I knew where it had taken me, and there was one thing within AA that I started to go, I think I must have gone for about 18 months, and I had a sponsor who was in his 80s called Big Mike, and he was like, the similarities between me being 18 and him being in his 80s was incredible. We had the similar lives. It was incredible. And, he helped me a lot at that time, but it also introduced me to the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous as well. And one of the first step is admitting that you're powerless over alcohol. But then there's this understanding this higher power. And when I started to look into this, it's like I always believed in something that was bigger than myself. I always had this knowing that there was something bigger. But I wouldn't have termed it God at that time anyway, because I would have thought God was of the thinking and the belief that he sat on a cloud chucking thunderbolts at people that did things wrong. And that just wasn't my comprehension. But I didn't know what was my comprehension. But, going to AA, it sort of like opened something up for me. And my life started to change a little bit in the way of psychic things started to happen. I just started to know things and have this sensitivity, and my life, I was following this guidance within my life that was just, I can't really explain it, but I know that there were instances, and I can't even give an example of the instances of the psychic experiences, but I truly believe now it was this understanding this higher power, or exploring this higher power. And obviously there was a lot more things within the steps as well. But as I was going along within AA, it was great because I was keeping sober, but I did start to find that I couldn't relate to anybody else that wasn't within AA. It was like I'd go to these meetings and I couldn't get up and speak because I was that shy anyway, but I listened to people and and it helped me. And Big Mike took me to like this Al-Anon meeting where I had to speak on behalf of families that, and I did speak as an 18-year-old to show them a perspective from an alcoholic of a younger person, to show them what it was like for me. And I think that was the only time I spoke. But what I did start to do, my friend, my best friend, she's actually next door now, she used to hear voices, and we used to talk about how we connected was through, she was interested in tarot, and we were both interested in astrology. But because she was hearing these voices, she sought help, and she went to the local Spiritualist church, which was in Bury. And she started to go to this awareness class. So we used to babysit for her kids and then wait for her to come back and like, what happened when you were there, like wanting to know everything that happened. Mm-hmm. And we eventually, she took us, we all went to the Spiritualist church in Bury. So we were all going there, and there was about 8 of us, there was a group of us, and we were like thinking, how does that woman on there know that about these people? And they must come here every week. She must come here every week. She's not come to any of us, so we're new. So there's something not really skeptical. But it wasn't until after the service, she went into the where you have your cup of tea and your biscuits, and we didn't realise it's a bit etiquette to leave the medium alone while they're just like having a quiet time after the service. But we all sat round and surrounded her around the table, and like looking at her like she was from outer space or something. And what she did, she gave us all a piece of information around the table, each one of us. But what she did, she gave me some evidence about my dad, and she said his name. Well, everyone gasped, and it was like, gosh, and yeah, it was unbelievable. But I think it was that then kept me going back. I needed to know more. I needed to know more and more. So I did.
What a profound story that at 18 years old, you kind of discovered that. Because that's really young. I've not come across anyone yet who's kind of gone to a spiritual church at that age, but it's because I guess that all this stuff that catapulted you there so early on. It's what a story. So you continued to go at 18 years old.
I was 19. Sorry, I'm interrupting. I was 19 at that point. Yeah, but yeah, and when I look back now, I remember as a kid driving past, obviously with my parents, driving past and seeing the sign for the Spiritualist church and always wondering what it was. And that was for years. I'd always see it and wondered what it was. And it was funny how when I was 19, I ended up going into there, but it was the influence of my friends that I went in there. And it was actually me that started to explore more. And, you know, I listened to whatever anybody said. I was so opinionless and so, you know, I don't know, impressionable, I should say. So when people can say, you know, like they can see a potential in you and they'll say, oh, you should be a healer. You've got this healing ability and what have you. And all right, then I'll do healing now. And then you should be sat in a circle because you're a medium. All right, then I'll sit in a circle now. And, you know, and that's sort of like the breadcrumb trail I followed because I didn't know any different. And, you know, it's like the thing where you believe some of the, you know, when you're new to this, you believe whatever someone who's classed as a teacher says to you because they obviously know more about everything than you do. And, you know, this is what I was feeling at the time.
It's very funny you say that because I've been the complete opposite, not wanting to believe and needed undeniable proof. But I guess this open-mindedness that you had was kind of the catalyst that you really needed. Did that serve you well all along your journey through those years, or did it kind of trip you up in a way that you was sort of so willing to give over, you know, your well, I don't know how you'd put it, you were very impressionable and you were very quick to believe. Did that, you know, always serve you so well? Or?
Well, I think a lot of the time it was, I'd have this inner dialogue or this inner observation where I would question, but it wasn't necessarily what I would do. I'd trust or try to trust the people that were telling me the things. So I never actually believed I was a medium, but I sat within a development circle. For 18 months, I sat in a development circle at the beginning. And, you know, the people I'm sat next to, and they had these wonderful stories, what they got in the meditations and things. And I just got nothing. You know, I got nothing. And it was strange because I used to think, why am I bothering going? Why do I keep continuing to go? And now when I look back, I think it's the soul. It was the soul that was keeping me going and returning, because obviously something was going on that I wasn't aware of. And I had all these people around me at church saying, oh, you've got this gift or you've got this ability. And I'm like, no, I can't. Because I couldn't do what they did on the platform. I can't do all this stuff. You won't see me doing that. Although I know I had this, I knew I had something that was psychic at the time because I could read tarot cards and things I used to say were correct with people. And that was obviously on a psychic level with people, what was going on in people's lives. But with the spirit world, it was different. And I suppose from the church then, I had a friend, still a friend now, Robin, and he was a working medium at the time. And he just says, Adam, right, we're going to the Arthur Findlay College. And I'm like, what's that? And he says, just trust me. He says, you'll love it. So again, didn't know what the Arthur Findlay College was, paid the 350 quid it was at the time for the week, back in 2005.
Certainly not that anymore.
I know. But I was fortunate enough to be on Glyn Edwards week at that point, and it was my first week there. And do you know, I mean, I have to tell the story of when we went to the airport. We flew from Blackpool to Stansted, and there was this lady that was at Blackpool Airport, and Robin knew who she was, and he says, "Oh, she's a tutor at the college, and she must have been obviously going at the same time as us, and we're on the same plane." So I'm like, "All right," and I thought there's just something about her that's different that I don't know what, and I just can't put my finger on it. But we all had a coffee at the airport, and then she continued to. She gave Robin a communication from his mum, just that. And you know what? I'm sat there and I'm thinking, wow, because I'd never heard anything like it that was so specific. I could feel this power that I'd not really experienced before, and I'd been to lots of church services and things like that, but I suppose I'd never sat next to somebody that was actually communicating with the spirit world. And there was just something of this quality that I just thought, wow. And then obviously when I went to, and that lady was Jill Harlan, by the way, who a lot of people know in the spiritualist movement. And she, again, it was like my eyes opened to something, and it was like this. And then we went to the college and the wonderful grounds and, the energy of the place. And all these people from all around the world, it was just like, wow, it's like this hidden gem that I'd never heard of. And, it opened up my eyes, it opened up my heart, it opened up my soul, because there were so many things within spiritualism or that I knew at the time that felt restrictive of what you can and you can't do. And then it was like, gosh, we can do anything. And, it was wonderful. And I was lucky enough to be in Glyn's class as well. And he did the sitting in the power with us. So that was my first experience of sitting in the power. But, and I've made some wonderful friends as well that I'm still friends with today from that first visit at the college. And that really opened up something within me that I thought, and I actually, from what I can remember, I gave my first communication whilst I was at the college, a first solid one that I can remember. And I remember saying, "Do you really understand that? You can really take all this?" And I was like, still really doubting myself with stuff, but it was an example to me that I could communicate with the spirit world. And, after that, I started to I started following Glyn to some of his workshops and things. And yeah, I became a bit of a workshop junkie in some ways, because I just wanted to know more and more and more and learn more and be more. And a lot of the time it was a confidence thing with me, where there was this desire to communicate and to be that messenger to people here that are in need, that are grieving and what have you. But it was something that was a process that started to change me as a person as well. So there was a lot of self-development that came in with all this, because, I have to say, which I think is something that is important. I've got another dear friend who used to take me up on the platform going back years ago, and it was around the time of the Arthur Findlay College. And, I must have got that bit of confidence or madness to go and sit on the platform with her. And she'll go, "Have you got anything?" No, just get up. And I'd be like, no. And then I did actually get up, and this one time, and I delivered this communication, and I knew who the communication was for. And this lady, she wouldn't actually accept this communication. And she said, no, no, no. And, I think it just destroyed me. Within that moment, it destroyed me. And I remember my friend saying she could take everything you said, Adam. And I thought, you're just saying that to make me feel better. But that same lady, 2 weeks later, came up to me and says, Adam, I could take everything that you said. And it was because a family member was an alcoholic and she was embarrassed. It was the way that it came out, the way that I expressed it, which was a big learning thing for me. However, it took me 7 years to get back up on the platform after that.
Wow.
I just couldn't get up because the damage had been done, that procrastination, those thoughts over that 2 weeks.
Oh, you probably think yourself crazy with it.
Yeah. So,
and that was a big thing for you to get up there that first time. It's
absolutely.
I'm even thinking of, when you was explaining yourself, when you was a child and going to school and whatever, to get the courage to even do a reading, I can imagine for you was, one-to-one really quite difficult.
Yeah. Although I always classed myself as a one-to-one person.
Okay. Oh, okay.
That's how I sort of accepted myself. I felt more comfortable with one-to-one rather than being up in front of people.
What eventually gave you the jolt to get on the platform after 7 years?
Well, I became a bit of a workshop junkie, as I said, and I was it's as if like I'd go on like a weekend course and then I'd have all this buzz about, right, I'm going to do this now. And then I'd just slip into my everyday normal life again. It's like, was that a dream? How can I feel like that there or at that time? And then everything just feels differently now when you just go into this norm. And then it's as if like, did that really happen? Am I really a medium? Am I?
You know what? It's so funny you say that because that's happened to me when I went. The first time I went to the college, honestly, I thought it was easy. It was just like a download. It just came to me. It was almost like I had an email in my inbox. And then left the college, couldn't do anything, couldn't even do a reading or whatever. And I thought, hang on a minute. And then I completely started to believe it was all not real. And maybe I'd imagined it. So I can relate to you there.
Yeah. And I suppose that's the thing. And what I did do then, I had heard of Mavis Pittilla.
I was going to ask you about Mavis Pittilla. Actually.
Yeah, I'd heard of Mavis Pittilla. I'd heard of her at the college. I had Glyn talk about, because Glyn and her used to work closely, going back with Gordon Higginson, and Glyn always spoke highly of her in the classes that I had about a mediumship and what have you. And so it was just a name, Mavis Pittilla. But she did live like not so far away from me. I believed it was in Middleton at the time, and that's the stories that I heard. And it wasn't until in 2011, it was it's when I turned 30. It was a big year for me in a lot of ways. Turning 30, me and my partner got married. There was a lot of things. My husband, he had a massive heart attack in that year as well, going forward, and there was a lot of things going on. And what he said, because bearing in mind I'd been to the college in 2005 for the first time, it was now 2011, and what he said to me is his dad must have got some money from a pension or something like that. And he said, and his dad gave him a bit of money. And he just said, do you know what, Adam? He says, every time you talk about the Arthur Findlay College, you always smile. And he says, and with the year that was so stressful, he says, I want you to take this money and go to the Arthur Findlay College. And do you know what? I was straight on the phone and I managed to there was a last place on Tony Stockwell's week, because I must have booked to the next one, because I didn't even know where I was going to go and what course I was going to go on, but it was just that one I just felt drawn to. And I got the last place on that course. And again, that changed me. Still very quiet on the course, but I was taking everything in. And I ended up having a private sitting whilst I was there. And a lady, Jose from Holland, she gave me this sitting, and she mentioned Mavis. Everything that she said was like, wow, it was amazing. And it was everything that was needed at that point. But she says, do you know Mavis Pittilla? And I says, no. She goes, I feel like you should get in contact with Mavis. And I'm like, but I don't really know her. And she says, I feel like she'll be able to help you. And I'm like, right, okay. So as soon as I'd left the college, I'm like, where's Mavis? How can I find Mavis? And I ended up, I've got a mutual friend, and she was actually going on a course in Disley, because they had these spiritual explorations courses in Disley. And so it was just a coincidence that one of my friends was going on there, and I says, I'm going to come on it as well. So we booked on, and I ended up meeting Mavis, and it was like this big thing. So my friend who'd already been on course, she's going, Adam's here, Adam wants to speak to you. And it was a bit like, and remember she offered a hand over my back and says, oh, he's got a good power. And I didn't know what that meant or anything, But I remember her I had a private sitting with her, and she said, I'm thinking, Mavis has got all the answers. She's going to be able to tell me where I need to go next. Because obviously I had this yearning. It was this soul yearning to learn. And it must have been the time that I was ready, but a bit frustrated because I didn't know where to go with it as well. And Mavis sort of recommended some places, but she said, but in 3 years' time, you'll be a professional platform medium. And I'm like, what? And I didn't believe what she said. And it just so happens, I started to follow Mavis a little bit more, because I loved the depth of her wisdom, her philosophy, her mediumship, the reverence of her. There's all aspects of Mavis. I could just listen to her speak all day. So I just garnered this trust, I suppose, within her. And something happened where there was another course that was supposed to be on at Disley. And my friend had already asked me if I was going to go on it. And I knew that I couldn't at that time, because there was work and it was hard to get time off. And you needed to take the Thursday, Friday off or something for the weekend. And I knew I couldn't do it. So probably a couple of months later, I had this dream that I saw Mavis on this train platform. And I sort of hugged her on this train platform. And then we started walking down the train platform, and she says, are you coming on my course, young man? And I'm like, I'm sorry, Mavis, I can't come on it. I can't get time off work. And I remember making these excuses or reasons. Well, the look on Mavis's face of disappointment, it woke me up at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning. And I'm lay there thinking, how can I get out of work to get on this course? And I'm actually thinking that, and I must have been laying there for about an hour, coming up with some sort of solution. Then I thought, hang on a minute, I don't even know what this course is about. So I got my phone at the side of the bed, and I went onto Mavis's website, and then this mentorship came up, and I just remember, I just remember this feeling. It was like this thunderbolt that went into my solar plexus, just into my tummy, and the excitement. I started to read, and it was everything that I needed to. I just thought I need to do this, and I'd probably applied for it and everything without even discussing it with my other half first. But I knew I just needed to go on this course. And to me, it was like, because it was all by interview as well, that you had to go for an interview stage to see whether you're suitable for it. So to me, it was like getting into university. This was my university that I couldn't achieve academic university in my life, but this was my university. This was something I wanted to do. And, she, even with that, I even got to the point where I wrote an email to her, because I did get on it, by the way. I did get on it. And there was somebody that really knocked my confidence before going on the course, sort of questioning my ability and my reasons. And she really judged me really wrongly, but I still took it on board. This particular person says, you can't go out drinking and going out with the lads. And I thought, well, I don't even drink and go out with the lads because I don't drink, so she'd really judged me wrong. But she actually said, because the requirements was beginner to intermediate, and she just went, what makes you think you're not a beginner? Well, it crushed me, it crushed me, someone saying that. And so I wrote this email to Mavis, and I says, I'm really sorry. Somebody said this, and I just really feel that I can't do this. I can't do it. And do you know what? They Skype me. It was Skype at the time, not Zoom. And we had a chat, and she just says, listen, if I didn't think you had the potential to do this, I wouldn't have invited you to be part of the group. And, just come to the first weekend and see how you feel. And if you don't, then you can go into a beginners sort of group. If you don't, well, I went on it and I loved it. It made me look at all aspects. It made me look at myself. It made me look at nature, philosophy. It just felt like everything on that course resonated with me. And it was, there were people there that were professional mediums, so to speak, and I'd basically just gone there to learn. I wanted to learn about what all this was about, and I trusted Mavis's knowledge, and the way that she nurtured me was everything that I needed. It's as if like she knew exactly what to do, how far to push me, how far not to push me. And yeah, it was kind of incredible.
Is there kind of like anything that, you think today, kind of looking back, that Mavis kind of taught you, or an impact that she has? Sounds like she's impacted you in every way, Adam. Doesn't sound like there is one particular standout thing, but is there anything you can share from what Mavis taught you that might help other people perhaps on the journey? I'm probably asking an impossible question, because to unpack it is going to be impossible. But I know that there's a lot of people who, I've got the book about her, and it's on my must-read list.
Well, it was, there's lots of sayings. So, like when you were saying about Colin, and he'd say something profound, and then it'd be like, hang on a minute, and you start missing things because you're so absorbed and taken away by what's just been said, because it so resonates in one way or another. You're trying to process it. Well, there were many times like that with Mavis, and I used to sit there, and I love quotes, I love words, and she encouraged me with that. And the words that she said, like these one-liners, I just capture them in my book. And I just, the most profound one is, you may be shy, Adam, but your soul isn't. That was the most profound thing that helped me, because I was always in this constant state of, my conscious mind is, telling me, you can't do this. What are you bothering getting up there for? You're going to make a fool of yourself. You can't do this. And then there's this inward pull and before you know it, you stood up there, but you still got this self-conscious feeling while you're there. And I know it's that sense of, another wording and terminology that she says was, it's allowing the lion to lay down with the lamb. So the lion being the conscious mind, and the lamb being the soul. So we allow them to make peace, to the lion to lay down with the lamb, and that is where the inspiration comes. That is where the communication comes. That's where all aspects of our spirituality can come. And it's if we just allow our conscious mind to quieten, we can allow the soul to rise. And it's really profound. And those two are probably the most profound statements and wise philosophical statements that have helped me. And I know I say these to my students now, and I've just started a 12-week awareness to development course at Horwich Spiritualist Church, which is a local church, and I've actually given them that in that first class, and it's the amount of feedback is, gosh, it's like this epiphany.
It's sometimes all it is, and it's happened to me. When I was on this course the other day with Colin, he said something, and it went round and round and round in my mind. And I just thought to myself, do you ever get this? When a medium says something to you, I wonder sometimes, and this happens a lot to me, and I think, has that person said it to me because they think I need it? Have they read? Because it is so profound that you start questioning why that they've said that to you.
Yeah.
I say this to my partner a lot. I say, honestly, when you've got mediums as friends, it's just a whole different kettle of fish. So that's fascinating. So I want to come on to as well your book, because it's a great book. I'll hold it up there. There we go. Soul Rise, Soul Expressions. Tell us about this book, because it really grabbed my attention, and I think this dovetails really nicely on from what you're saying about Mavis and profound things, because I found myself really getting drawn in by this book because it is profound. Tell us about the book, and how did this come about, and how did these poems come to you?
Right. Well, I call myself the accidental poet. I have to say that because, probably over the years I've written the odd poem. And it's usually been about processing things. So like The Bottle My Friend was probably one of the first ones. Roundabout was one of the first ones as well. So you'll notice they're probably in sequence of the times I've written them. So, and it'd only be like one every 2 years I'd write a poem. It wasn't like I was doing it all the time. And what happened was I just went through this period of writing a bit more poetry, probably a year or so before the book was published, and I just put them out on Facebook. Just people can resonate, and I got so much feedback that you should publish these, or you should do a book. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, I don't know, no, I'm just gonna post them, and a lot of people could just resonate with them, and I was I was just feeling inspired by that, and I actually went on a silent retreat. A 10-day silent retreat. Yeah, it was called Vipassana. And it was 10 days of no phone, no contact with anybody, only the group of people that were there, but you couldn't speak to them. It was, and it was a really difficult time, I've got to say, because it wasn't.
Did you find that? Because I've often thought to myself, I can't really, that must move you. So tell us about that, because I find them fascinating.
It was one of the greatest things I've ever done, but one of the hardest things I've ever done as well, because I didn't realise how much my mind chatters, and it was trying to talk myself to go home. There's something up with my partner. There's something up with my parents, and I knew, because a friend had been on this course, that the first 3 days are crucial, because a lot of people would leave when it got to the third day. They just couldn't hack it. But it was basically 9.5 hours a day of meditation. But this was mindfulness. It was mindfulness meditation. So it's about scanning the body. So I didn't really read up about Vipassana before I went, because I just wanted to experience it as I was there. So I didn't want to sort of have any preconceptions about what it was going to be. I just heard the experience of my friend. And I thought, oh, we'll just be sitting in the power for 10 days and I'll love that. And did you feel the presence of spirit when you was, like in the meditation hall and things like that? Well, when I got there, there was nothing. So you went into the meditation hall and everyone is so inward. There was this peace, but everybody was so inward. There wasn't anything like sitting in the power. It was just completely going within. And, I thought, oh my gosh. And I went that within. I thought it was going to affect my mediumship. I remember going, because you could make an appointment with one of the mentor people that were there. You could, if things were getting to you about the technique or whatever, you could make an appointment with them. And so it was like about 12 o'clock, something like that. I says, I do work as a medium and I am worried that this is going to affect my mediumship if I continue to keep doing this. And I, because I think I've been that used to being in the power of mediumship, that this was just the complete opposite for me. But it was what was actually needed, because all these things started to happen whilst I was there, but on an inward level. And it was like memories would come up from the past, because all these unconscious, what they taught you is the unconscious, unconscious emotions that we have are really conscious, but we're just not aware of them. And that comes out in the way that we react to things. So things can trigger us in some ways, and we react to things that have maybe caused us some emotional harm in the past, or it's our survival mechanism and things like that. So when I was there, I remember waking up in the middle of the night thinking about, gosh, it felt like I was actually there, where it was a time when I was drinking, and it was probably 20 years previous. And I woke up thinking, what have I done? What did I do? Because I never found out what I did this particular night, sort of thing. And it was as if like it had just happened. And I thought, oh my gosh, I just couldn't get past this emotion. It was as if like it just happened. I felt sick with it. But I knew that there was this healing, or this process of, it was an evolvement really, and to move forward from that, because sometimes we don't realize what we're holding on to. We suppress things, and whilst we're suppressing things, it's all right. But again, we could be reacting in a certain way that we're unaware of because of the triggers of these suppressed emotions. So yeah, that was probably a psychological and emotional side and a spiritual side, because I did learn that, this is about nature, because it was to do with Dharma, which is, it was a Buddhist. It wasn't Buddhist because it was open to all faiths and all religion. They didn't sort of put themselves into a religion as such, so that it's open to everybody. But it was sort of like a Buddhist tradition in some ways. It had that way about it. And there was this little tree that I would see, because you had all these wonderful grounds that you could walk around at the silent retreat. And I'd see this tree, and I used to think, wow, look at this tree. It must have had dew on it or something. And it was just sparkling, and it were beautiful. And when I went up to it, it was just this fir tree, this little fir tree. And I just thought, gosh, I sat at the bench where I'd go and sit there every day then and just look at this tree. And I started getting inspiration about this tree. Well, you couldn't write anything down either. So I'm sort of stuck with this inspiration frustratingly. And I thought, to sort of quieten my mind down a little bit and to stop the frustration, what I did, I resolved with the fact that on the last day, what I'll do, I'll take a picture of the tree, and then when I go home, if I feel inspired, I'll write about it. And I wrote the little fir tree, which is in the book. And when I'd come back, it's as if like, I remember, I think the World Cup was on. So that was on the I'm there sat, Sean's watching the World Cup, and I'm like churning out all these poems. It was just like, I was writing 3 a night. So it's as if, and they were all just coming out and being expressed, and they're all sort of like different aspects to life. And I've got my friend Suzette, who really encouraged me. We'd speak on a morning, and she'd sort of like, we'd be talking, then we'd be like, oh, share this. And it was like, it came to the point when it's time to share, you need to stop sharing. And she was on about writing this poem called Share. And I wrote this poem called Share, which is in the book. And I stopped sharing them on social media then. And it's as if like, right, I need to put this together in the book. And it was probably the easiest thing that I'd ever done, because all the pictures in the book, I'd already put the poems and matched them to a picture already. So it was dead easy to sort of send to the publisher. Everything just sort of
fell into place.
Yeah. And, you know, it just happened so quickly, really. And the feedback from it was just incredible. It was a project. I never did it to make money. It was always just a personal project. And, you know, you'll find that there's 2 quite dark poems in there as well, that I was unsure whether to put them in at the time. But when speaking with friends, it's like, no, you got to put all aspects within that. And, you know, some people will be able to relate with that. And it might seem dark. And again, this was something that Bryant Robertson taught me when I was at the college, because going along these similar lines about one of these particular poems, we did a philosophical exercise, and I shared that story, and I found it really difficult. I'm saying, but it's negative, and I don't want to. But we said it in a way of, I think it was, we had to be someone in a film, and what character would we be in that film, and you know, and why. So, and you were telling the story, and then being represented by that character in the film, and that's how it came about. And I always remember saying it, and I found it really difficult. I remember getting emotional saying it, and I'm thinking, why have I chosen something like this that is so difficult to express because of the time? And I just remember Brian turning around saying, do you know what? You've given your students the biggest lesson one of the biggest lessons that they could have with that story, you know, because it was that. And I suppose that stuck in my mind. We've sort of spoke about it, but it was always those 2 that sort of stuck out. Shouldn't have put them in, but it just felt like it was right, because there was somebody that probably would need that at a certain time. So,
well, I agree. It's there's a reason your friends were thinking that way as well, and I think it was the right decision. I just realised we haven't even said the name of the book. We've been talking about this is the biggest build-up to a name of a book ever, but the book is called Soul Rise. It's a beautiful book, and it really lightens up my bookshelf, and I love it. It's one of these books that you find yourself just keep coming back to. I wouldn't. There's a couple more things I want to ask you about, and I'm really there's so many things I still wanted to ask you about, which we're just not going to get time to. We could sit here for another hour. But a couple of things. So you tell us about your sitting in. Well, 2 questions I want to ask you. Firstly, how would you describe the concept of sitting in the power? And secondly, please tell us all about your group that you do every Monday, because for people that are interested in sitting in the power, there's no better place to go than to your group, where you can do it every single week. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so sitting in the power, very much like like yourself, when I was on Glenn Edwards' week, he introduced sitting in the power. And you know what? I must have spent about 11 years or something searching for the power after that, and it was a concept of what is it? I've been taught, and I just couldn't get it. And I remember someone saying to me, stop searching for the power, because the power is within you and around you. Just embrace it. And I was on this quest to know what the power was, because I was told that it would help and develop my mediumship. This is the key to your mediumship. So I was constantly sort of like searching within that. And it was something that I just felt passionate about. And I actually produced a course about it. And to me, what I realized is, and my terminology changes because I evolve with it as well. What I believe today might not be what I believe tomorrow, and so on, or it enhances or evolves in certain ways. And I'm always open to that. So I know my vocabulary changes about sitting in the power. And I simply term it as remembering that divine power that is within and around you. We can forget about the divine power within and around us through our everyday life, through our stresses and our strains, and through our families, through our work. We can forget about that because we can become too materialistic in some ways and have to deal with things that are here. And we can forget the soul of us. We can forget that spirit within. And, in essence, when we remember the spirit, when we remember God, the universe, the source, the creator, however you perceive that power to be, then it just allows to me for your soul to become more into its purpose. And whether that is to be a medium or whether that is to be whatever your soul's path is, because not everybody is a medium, but everybody has a soul, everybody has a spirit. And, I was introduced to it through mediumship, through spiritualism. But really, the power is life, and life empowers, and it empowers it when we acknowledge it. So if we was just to continue with that in that thought, we would, it was something that I just felt that everybody should remember it. Everyone should be aware of it, and just to understand it. Let's break down the barriers of what the word God means. And, once you feel the presence of the power of God, or the creator, however you perceive it to be, or term it, it doesn't matter what it's called. So
you've just given me one of those moments there. The way you just said that, that makes perfect sense.
Because it's that feeling. So, so when I was at president of Rottenstall Spiritualist Centre, I started a sitting in the power session on a Monday evening. It's called it Sitting in the Power Hour. And
I have one of those in my day job. We call it my power hour is to get on the phones and make sales. So this is sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so I had people come in on a Monday night, and I always wanted it to go online at some point, but I was always a bit of a technophobe, and had my phone set up to do Facebook Live, but never really did it because I thought it detracted from the people there, and I just didn't do it. Then obviously we got thrown into lockdown the year after, and so it went online. I started doing Facebook Live, and there was quite a lot of people that would come on it because obviously I was on furlough from work, and I started to do that, and donations to go to Rottenstall Spiritualist Centre to help, because obviously churches were struggling and centres were struggling during lockdown because they had to close the doors in most cases, and it was hard for people to generate that. I was kind of lucky to sort of generate donations through Sitting in the Power and through services online at that time. But then I did leave Rottenstall Spiritualist Centre, But I continued with sitting in the power online, and how I did it then, because I thought, I started to feel kind of bad, because I thought, whilst I was running Rotten Stall, I was really focused on it and wanted it to do well and to support it and make sure that it was well in the community, and I thought, I've put so much focus on that it's time to send that focus outwardly to anyone that attends Sitting in the Power, for them to donate to their own spiritual community, their churches, their centres. So my time is free, but for them to come and represent, donate. If they're not part of a community, then they're welcome to the Sitting in the Power community, because it has turned into a community. And what I did do at the time, I created a poster and I sent it out to over 300 churches, and what it had like the bank details on that they could put on the notice board, so that it could let the congregations know and people that attended, so they could put the bank details in, so anybody that attended could donate to their own churches. So I was trying to influence that, and obviously because it's recorded as well on Facebook, I didn't want to take away from their services, so they would get that recorded copy that they could just drop into each week, or whatever time of the week. So, I mean, it started off, I thought during lockdown, I think there was about 40 people on, and I thought, wow, during lockdown. Now, it's in its 4th year now, so every Monday evening, and now we get between 25 and 70 people. So it's in between like Facebook and Zoom, but I can have about up to 50 people in Zoom, and then people are watching it on Facebook Live. And I just think it's wonderful. You get many regulars come in, that you're staunch. I call it like the spiritual gym as well, because they're taking that time. I'm just providing the space for them. I'm hosting it. But they're attending, and it's always open to them. They can dip in and out of it. It's not, I'll always be there, but they can dip in and out of it as much as they
want.
What
most of us have going on a Monday night? What's a better thing to do than sit in the power? If people want to, I'm sure there's going to be people listening to this who think absolutely. So if people want to get involved, where can they go to find out about your Power Hour?
Well, they can go on my Facebook page. They can go, I think it's actually advertised on my website as well, adamberrymedium.com. But on my Facebook page, that has all the information on that, as a Zoom link on there. It's posted every week. It's just Adam Berry page. That's my mediumship page. So yeah, people can follow me on there, and then they'll get the notification when it comes on. I also post it on the online spiritual services as well, which is a wonderful place that Veronica Jenkins set up during lockdown to let people know about church services, and I think she actually created a directory as well. So I post on there with other people. So
what's it called again?
Spiritualist Services Online.
Oh, look
at online Spiritualist Services. She's got that right. It's one way or the other.
Adam, I can't believe how quickly this hour has gone. Would you like to leave us with a closing thought to people that maybe are on this journey as well? And we get a lot of people listening to the show who are interested in mediumship, and some of them, like you were, really interested in finding out about, is there more to life? How do I connect? Leave us with a closing thought. Not to put you on the spot or anything, Adam.
Okay, a closing thought. So, one of my big things that I see over the years, and I did myself, was looking at people and comparing our own skills and abilities with other people. And I think sometimes, also, although we can aspire to become like those people, I always think in the terms of, like with Gordon Higginson, one of the most wonderful ambassadors of spiritualism to date, through history. But, it's not to become like Gordon Higginson, but it's to aspire to the power that Gordon Higginson did within his service to humanity and to the spirit world. And I think that's, and when we look at that, we've all got these, we've all got a purpose within life, and it may not be that it is platform mediumship, it may not be that it is you're a speaker, but you've got this mindset that this is what you should be. And I think once we're open to the concepts of just allowing ourselves to be, following that intuition of who we are, then the possibilities are endless, and we can really evolve into allowing the soul of us to become the best of us.
I love that. What a lovely way to end the show. Thank you so much for coming on to the Soul Sync, Adam. I think it's been the most wonderful conversation, and I'm sure everyone has enjoyed it as much as I have.
Thank you.
Now, wasn't that the most lovely conversation with Adam? I really enjoyed talking to him, and I was blown away by some of his backstory there. You'll be glad to know that if you liked Adam, there's also going to be an episode released very soon, which is Adam's Sitting in the Power meditation, where, as he explained in his episode, he will guide you into being able to develop sitting in the power, so do keep your eyes out for that. A big thank you for joining me on another enlightening episode of Soul Sync. If you want to stay in the loop with the Soul Sync podcast, it's easy. Simply hit the follow show button wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts, and by following me, you really are supporting this podcast, as it allows me to continue to get world-class speakers onto the show. If you're enjoying my podcast, could I ask a favour? Please take a moment to leave me a review wherever you tune in. Your feedback means the world to me, and not only does it put a smile on my face, it also makes it easier for others to find the Soul Sync podcast. If you want to get involved in the conversation with our community, as well as hearing from me with off-podcast content, look at the bottom of the show notes where you'll find my Facebook page and newsletter button. If you have suggestions for future episodes, or there's a guest you'd love to see featured, or you might even have a story that you'd like to share with our wonderful audience, simply email me at hello@jasonpaulmedium.com. Your stories and ideas are the heartbeat of Soul Sync, and your input is invaluable in shaping the soulful conversations I bring to you. I'm Jason Paul. You've been listening to the Soul Sync. Until next time, goodbye.